This video is for the taxpayers of Pawling to let them know how their money's been wasted, and it's also for the news media to let them know about the corruption that goes on up here in Dutchess County. $50,000 of taxpayer money has been spent to prosecute me in New York State Supreme Court for building violations. Now, building violations are usually heard in local court. The building inspector will give you an appearance ticket. You both go to court, argue in front of the judge, and then he makes a decision. It's a very simple process, and it's free. Now, if there is a serious violation, if your house is unsafe, or if you've polluted the ground, they can take you to Supreme Court and make you get rid of these violations. They went to Supreme Court immediately without going to local court. I didn't find out until the end of this case that they enacted a new law to give them the right to do so. But of course, that law wasn't enacted until months, 3 or 4 months after they started suing me in Supreme Court. Now, what they wanted in Supreme Court was, 1, fines. These fines were $450 a day for every day that I was in violation. Now, you add that, do the math on that for 3 years. That's a lot of money. 2, abatement. That means you get rid of the violation. And 3, a permanent injunction. A permanent injunction prohibits me from ever working on my own house again. What else it does, it gives them the right to seize my property and have it auctioned off to collect the fines that they want. This was all a scam. That's all it was. Now, of the $50,000 spent, 80% of that money was spent just to cover up the fact that there never was any violation. $12,000 was spent for a summary judgment. A summary judgment is when the judges look at the paperwork, the written statements by the building inspectors. There's no trial, there's no testimony, nothing. I can't question anybody, and I lost. Simple as that. She gave it to him. But at this hearing, Michael Hayes, the attorney, took the most serious violation, the roof, off the table, because I did have a permit for that at the time. That's the only permit I needed for any of the work done in this house. 2 hours later, I was in the building department, and I met with the last building inspector, the only one left, Carl Pfister, and then village trustee Colette Zito. In 10 minutes, the last 10 remaining items were dismissed. They weren't violations. The problem is, nobody contacted the judge and gave her this information. 2 months later, I get a letter in the mail saying I've been found guilty, and I've got to abate this stuff that doesn't exist. Well, at this point, I got kind of sick of playing lawyer, and I just went back to work at my house. This led to a contempt hearing. This process took close to a year. And on November 3rd, 2011, I was sentenced for 30 days in Dutchess County Jail for putting the shingles on my house. After I got out of jail, I went and worked on a neighbor's house. Follow me. This house here, re-sided, all new windows, new doors, new porch. There's another new porch in the front of the house. New deck, new supports, new roof, new shingles. All this work was done without a permit because it is replace and repair, and you do not need a permit for that. They didn't pull the same game here on this job. But the only thing I've heard from the building inspector on my job here is that I'm doing a nice job. The same work that they put me in jail for. There's a couple more things I want to go over. 2 years ago, the Village Highway Department cut this blacktop to repair the valve, the water valve going into my house. For some reason, they never came back. Someone told them to stop work. So I'm stuck with no water in this house, and that's just harassment. I've also gotten violations. I got a violation for having construction debris on my property, a construction site, for more than 5 days. I've gotten violations for exercising my First Amendment right to freedom of speech. These guys are just out of control around here. You can take a look at the sign I put up. And this is the biggest problem in this town. Everybody's friends with everybody else. With all the evidence I have of fraud, both the sheriff and the district attorney refuse to investigate this. At this point, these guys want to put me back in jail again. I didn't even do any work this time. Or, to keep from going to jail, I have to sign a permit that doesn't exist. They don't even want money this time. They just want my autograph. You can get Abe Lincoln's autograph for $50,000. This latest round started in May. This time the judge knows there's something wrong. So she appointed me an attorney. His name is Kevin Greco. Now we've talked about what we're going to do, and I instructed him to file papers to have this whole case thrown out, to vacate it. Because it was nonsense. It never was a violation. One of the people that was involved in this case, two building inspectors, Joe Burden and Larry Tomaso, they're the ones who came up with 16 violations on a house that I'm just repairing plaster on. Both of these guys, they make their accusations, then they quit before there's a chance they may get called into court to testify. The lawyer who handled this case for the village, Michael Hayes, he was a partner at Daniels and Porco. He was their heavy hitter workhorse. He did all their trial work. Today, he is working as a court clerk for a judge in the city of Victoria. That's not a job advancement. I don't know what's going on here, but everybody's running scared. Now, I know what's going to happen now. They're just going to delay this until I give up. That's never going to happen. I'm never getting a permit, and I'm going back to work in my house to make sure they don't play games. They wanted to go back to court. We're heading back to court. Thanks a lot. I'll be putting updates on every once in a while, let you know what's going on. Have a good day.